Hey everybody, it's me, the Einstein on Wall Street, here from the balcony at the New York Stock Exchange. Infinite possibilities. I have brought you everything in food, finance, fashion, and fun. I bring you disruptors. I bring you people breaking ceilings. We talk about tech. We talk about markets. We talk about, humanism. For me, what's the most exciting thing in this whole world that I'm living in, this wild new social media explosion that I'm living in, is one person meeting another person and seeing how, all the money and all the posts and all the likes and all that stuff is, at the end of the day, is basically meaningless. At the end of the day, what goes on between one person and another, that human connection, what on a level, something that's meaningful. We're talking about kindness and about joy, about interaction, about success, about failure. All the stuff that goes on in this wild spiritual world that we live in between one human being and another. If you just kind of break it down, the fact that we're, that the world is the way it is and human beings are the way they are is so incredible. If you just stop for a minute and look at it and see how meaningful it can be and how, sort of simple and useless that it can be in another way. So I say all this to say that I've met lots of different people in my world, and some of them are, there's an amazing instant connection. There are people who have a message and a mission that are super powerful, that's super meaningful to me. As I've mentioned to you guys all before, my parents were Holocaust survivors. They survived the worst devastation in history, yet they came out of that with a sense of loving life, right? People came away from different deep traumas in their lives, whether it was wars, whether it was genocide, whether it was all different things. People came out of those situations, and even like on a day-to-day, the trauma and the obstacles that life throws at us, people come out of it in different ways, right? People get knocked down a lot. Some people get back up, some people don't, right? But at the end of the day, the resilience of the human spirit, for me, is the most powerful thing. That's what I was brought up with, right? That at the end of the day, it ain't about cash and prizes. It's about how can I impact another person in a positive way, right? That's the most meaningful thing. At the end of the day, at the end of the game, nobody gets out of here alive. At the end of the day, when we're up there, wherever the heck we're going to be, it's like, and we're confronted by how did we impact the world in a positive way, one person at a time. That's kind of what really matters. And so I'm bringing you a guy today, Sam Demma, who, I found him on social media, as I found so many powerful people and some people who just don't have anything going on. And instantly, the message that I heard from him was just in line with my inner DNA. It's what's meaningful to me and what's so powerful. And I know I'm ranting and raving on this. I'm going to give Sam plenty of time to talk, but there are a couple of people I've met along the way who are my life coaches. People who are on a mission, I guess they're on a mission from God in a way, to empower other people to be their best self and to really navigate this wild world in a super positive way. And we're not talking about anything grandiose. We're talking about walking down the street and stopping someone and asking them their name and smiling and shaking their hand and say, how you doing? It can be as simple as that. So I'm honored and thrilled to bring Sam Demma to the show. Trade Like Einstein, Money News Network, Einstein and Ives, every friggin' platform this is going to go out on, because at the end of the day, it's way beyond finance, food, fashion, and fellowship. It's about what makes us human beings. And so I'm honored, bro.
Dude.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for
I'm thrilled. I couldn't be more thrilled, right? Hearing you and meeting you is just, that's the shit, right? It doesn't go beyond that.
No, it doesn't. And I was here for the day and had the pleasure of seeing how you interact with people, right. And I'm just honored to be here with you.
Good.
So.
And I think that's funny because we have that in common. I was watching a video that you did. First of all, everybody's got to go out and listen to Sam's videos. But, the one I was listening to was about the impact that I think it was the guy you got on the bus and you were having a really bad day, and the driver was having a great day, and you were fighting with yourself to go, like, how can I bring a lot of negativity to this situation where there's so much positivity? Like, and we do that on a daily basis. Like, we will, I have a guy who texts me every morning that says, "Hey Pete, have a great day unless you have other plans," right? Which is a great line, right? It's just like, we can curate our own lives. We can bring positivity to our day, or we can bring negativity, and we can do that on a one-to-one with another human being. But give me a little. Tell me about you. Give me Sam at the age, because obviously this just didn't happen. This is obviously something. There's something. You're on a mission, right? And the message that you give out in your life and is so meaningful. Where did it all come from? Tell me about it. Tell me about you.
I'm half Italian, half Greek.
Okay.
I share that because my grandparents were my biggest role models as a kid.
Yeah.
They came to this country with nothing and made service to others a big priority in their life.
Okay.
My grandfather worked 3 jobs. One of them was on a farm. Guy would grow more than enough squash. Wouldn't tell anybody, package it in boxes and just drop it off on your porch. You open your door and there's fruit, and there's vegetables. Young age, played soccer, wanted to play professionally. By the time I was a senior in high school, I had lived in Italy for 6 months playing with a pro club. And then I had 3 major knee injuries, 2 surgeries, spent 2.5 years trying to get back on the field. Injury after injury, made the decision to stop playing. Okay. That's when my first big challenge in my life came about.
That was a hard decision.
It was very difficult.
Yeah.
But I was fortunate that I had a teacher at that point who said, "Sam, the most meaningful games in life involve helping people." And he was a world issues teacher. Yeah. And he taught this lesson about a small, consistent action having a big impact. He said, go in the community, take a small action consistently and see what happens. That led to picking up pieces of garbage with my friend Dylan every Saturday morning. We did it for 5.5 years, got a ton of students involved. And as a result, we started speaking in local schools to recruit students to come help us volunteer. Right. And a principal pulled me aside one day and said, "I believe in you. There's something special here. You should keep doing this." Right. And I just never stopped. And the thing that drives me today is that I get so frustrated. I look outside my window, I turn on the news, and there's millions of stories that try and convince us that we're different. But we are the same.
Right. Yeah.
We have so much in common. Yeah. And if we focus on the commonalities, we can love each other like a family member. Right. And that's really all I'm trying to do, is just spread love. And
I don't mean to interrupt you, but it's gotten to the point where, think about it. In the old days could be a week ago, a month ago, or 6 months ago, when we have our differences. Yeah. Everybody is different, right? Yeah. Everybody's yet we used to be able to be in the room with people who had different opinions about things and still be cool. Yeah. Right? You can be this way, I can be that way, and be sitting at a Thanksgiving dinner, and at the end of the day we can disagree about everything. Yep. But at the end of the day, I can give you a hug, say goodbye, and we move on, and we can have a friendship, a relationship, or whatnot. For some reason, and I don't know where this tipping point is, where suddenly if you believe in something different than me, or you have a different opinion, or you voted for somebody different than me, suddenly we are so at odds that we can't be in the same freaking room with each other. Yeah. And so, the problem with that is that's the top of the pin to what that does is that is the beginning point to a journey that's a really dark place. Yep. If we go back and analyze the darkest parts of history, that was kind of how those things all started, right? Which is like our differences, not our commonality, hatred, unaccepting other people's differences, right? Who they are, not liking someone else's opinion. If you don't agree with me, well, then you're shit. That bullying tactic and whatnot. But that. It's literally a couple of Thanksgivings ago, and I don't like Thanksgiving, but when suddenly you couldn't sit down with Uncle Henry at a dinner table because, maybe it was around COVID or whatever, because he voted for somebody different or he doesn't like the same stuff as you, right? So for me to hear, you obviously have something to say, and it's rare that somebody as young as you understands that, right? And I know, I can hear that, you didn't get to this point alone. No. Right? You've had a bunch of... So give me a little bit about... So you talked about that one teacher who believed in you. But there's probably a number of other situations where, you could have jigged, then you jagged. Yep. And so give me a little... tell me about that.
I started university. At the same time, we started this garbage initiative. Okay. And after about 2 months, I just kept having this dream in my heart to go and tell stories and speak to people.
That's what you are. You're a storyteller, like me. That's what it is. I hadn't figured that out, right? It's different than a mission or a message. You're a storyteller. Right?
And I was finding myself in class, in university, building the website and working on presentations. Right. And my colleague Mohammed, right before midterms, Sam, what the heck are you doing? We have a test tomorrow, you know?
Right.
And after a month and a half, I had a really hard conversation with my European parents.
Right.
I said, I really want to follow this calling. I feel like I'm supposed to be doing this.
Right.
And I'm so freaking thankful that my parents just said, we believe in you and support you.
Go for it. Right.
And the worst thing that can happen is we send you back. You go back.
Right.
But try. If you fail, we fail together and we go back.
Now, your parents live in Europe, or they're here?
They're here.
They came here.
My
So
parents
they were
are in Pickering. They grew up in Ontario, in Canada.
Okay.
My grandparents came over.
Fine.
And then I started doing these little presentations at schools.
So
and
they did not say to you, I don't care what you want, you better go out there and find a way to make money.
No.
They said, follow your dream, go
and
for
try.
It. Okay.
And I think that's a privilege. That's not
It
something
is a
every
privilege.
parent can give to their kids.
You're absolutely right.
My parents were in a position to do so.
Okay.
I think there are also parents that are in a position to say that.
Right.
But they have their own desires for their
Did they find
kids.
success in America or in Canada when they, as immigrants, did they come here and find a life that was fulfilling to them?
My dad.
Many people didn't, right? Many
Yep.
people ended up in a job that they did what they had to do to make money, but they were not fulfilled. We know there's success and there's fulfillment.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure that's a big part of some things you talk about.
100%.
As well, right.
My dad worked as a plumber. My mom worked in a restaurant with my grandfather. Both loved the work,
Okay.
But desired for us, me and my sister, to have a life filled more with fulfillment,
Right, okay.
as opposed to just working to make ends meet.
Right.
So I think they saw that as an opportunity. Okay. But for me, it just gave me permission to fail. And I think that's what we have to give every young person, is permission to fail and try things. I then bumped into some amazing human beings that coached me along the way. There's a gentleman named Chris and Cody and Josh and so many people that just poured into me for no reason.
Older?
All
It
older. Didn't matter to me.
Okay.
But there are people who had been in the industry for a long period of time and were just sharing ideas with me and trying to help. And it just really redirected the whole path of my life. And I haven't stopped.
That's amazing. And, we could just say that the world needs more people like you. And, it's funny if you... So let's bring up David Meltzer. Okay, so David Meltzer is one of my mentors.
Yeah.
David Meltzer is the guy they made the Jerry Maguire movie about. He's a gentleman who had great fame and fortune, and then he crashed and burned, and then he dug himself out of that dark hole, and that was a financial, spiritual, emotional hole. Having been at the top, I mean, that's a hard thing to do. There's that silly line, as much as I don't like Jordan Belfort, who said, I've been rich and I've been poor, and being rich is a lot better, type of a thing. But you know what? It's hard to, having been at the top and fall, right? I mean, that, and then
build again.
And then build yourself back up again. But he did do that. But he didn't build himself back up again to just do what he had done before. He embarked on a journey to bring joy. And joy is a powerful word. It's different than happy and kind and all. The joy is a thing, right? To bring joy to 1 billion people in the world. That's his mission. If you look him up on Wikipedia, that's what defines him, right? And so joy is a thing. So I know about joy because we talked about it when you were earlier today with the group that we were talking to. So my parents, Holocaust survivors, my father and my grandfather. My grandmother was murdered. My grandfather and my father survived the war. During the war, they adopted this little boy. He was 8 years old. His parents had been killed, and they took him under his wing, and he survived the war with my father and my grandfather. He was sent over by my grandfather and father to America on the only boat of children allowed into America.
Wow.
And he had foster parents, and he grew up with them. And then when my parents met and came to New York, he came and lived with them. He ended up going to college, and he went on to become an incredibly wealthy, successful man.
Yes. And you said he was the reason, actually, why you got into the...
He was a major Wall Street player, and he always said to me, Wall Street's the place for you. You've got that demeanor, that whatever. However, having lived through the trauma of having his parents murdered and having lived as an 8-year-old through the trauma of the Holocaust and the war, and then having been displaced and then growing up and all that deep trauma, like in your DNA. There's a disease, I don't know the name of it, where you're incapable Where's my phone? It's downstairs.
That's okay.
Incapable of experiencing joy.
Oh, wow.
There's a name of it. You look it up, Maddie. It's called, just look up on Google, the incapacity to experience joy.
Wow.
It's an actual syndrome. And what it means is that your brain it's think about it, like some people are depressed,
Yep.
some people are not always happy or whatever. But that joy is something it's an inner feeling that's really special. It's like, it's not just being happy and having a great time.
Yeah.
Joy is something that you feel from your toes to your nose, right? And so the inability to experience joy is a powerful thing. So David's embarking on that journey to bring joy is so powerful because it's literally something, and you'd go, I mean, how do you think you can, bring joy to a billion people? Like, one person at a time.
Yep.
And I know that's your mission as well. It's like very many people.
Anhedonia?
What's it called?
Anhedonia?
Anhedonia.
Wow.
It's a thing, right? It's a thing.
Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anhedonia, the inability to experience joy.
Wow.
So think about this, though. Some people see the vision you have
Yep.
and don't do it because it's like, how can I ever change anything?
Yeah.
It's way too big a thing for me.
Yeah.
So they never end up doing it. But the funny thing is, and I learned that also from David, is that you can actually achieve some of the greatest things one person at a time.
Yep.
Like you and me talking, and then can grow into you and me, you talking at a high school, right?
Yep.
And then once that that seed's been planted to all those people, and they do things,
Spreads.
it's amazing how that spreads because it comes from goodness,
Yep.
right? And and kindness and goodness spread really well, right? And so and it's the message that needs to be told. So I deviated on the David Meltzer thing. So I got COVID. I was like patient zero. I got COVID March 15, 2020. I got meningitis. I was given a few months to live. Looked like the end of my life. I was sheltered. I was locked into my own apartment. My wife and kids were sent away, and I worked here, right? And the exchange had sent me like Chinese doctors, and I had all kinds of things going on. So it was like the beginning.
Yeah.
And nobody knew what to do at that point. And so I literally was locked in my apartment, like wanting to just kill myself because I was already, they had told me I wasn't going to make it, right? And I'm literally, my phone lights up one night, and I'm alone, and my phone lights up, and podcasts of two people popped up on my phone, and almost with a purpose. One of them was David Meltzer talking about his journey. It was an interview someone did with him, and he told about how he had been the star, and then he had fallen off the beam, and then he had to rebuild himself, and he was on this mission. And I heard the message of bringing joy to everybody, and it kind of gave me a little spark. And I called him.
Yeah.
I didn't even
wow.
know you could just call people. And I called him. I said, you may not know who I am. He goes, of course I know who you are. I said, I'm sitting here at home dying, considering jumping out the window. I just heard one of your super positive messages, and I just wanted to talk. And he kind of talked me through whatever I was going through, and we became really close friends. But I'm saying this to say that that it can be done one person at a time, and so the other person, so that's really helped curate my life going forward.
Wow.
Because look, I do come from a background where my parents survived what they survived. Most people came out of what they experienced really dark, really angry, really victim.
Oh, wow.
And they hated everybody. They believed they had gotten the raw end of the stick, and they had sort of their minds had been ghettoized, right? And that they blamed the world for everything.
Yeah.
And they never got to realize their dreams. Their lives were interrupted. They came to America, and some of them maybe did not be able to finish their careers. It got interrupted, and they ended up, so they ended up never having a fulfilled life, right? They survived, but they weren't fulfilled. And so, but I was brought up by my parents, fell in love. They had gotten a real raw end of the deal, but when they found each other and they fell in love, they every day to them was a gift. And I was brought up being taught that you know what, when I would ever whine and complain, they would go, it could be worse. Just look, my parents have numbers branded on their arm, right? So don't whine and bitch to me, it could be worse, and look where we've come from. And so I kind of grew up with that, okay, so the cup should be half full, and and that think about what I can do. And my father, as a doctor, explained to me that the important thing is how can you impact somebody's life in a positive way. That's the secret sauce, right? And so that's what I feel from you. The other guy who I met on Instagram that day that I was like considering jumping out the window was a guy named Wall Street Trapper.
Okay.
So Wall Street Trapper was a black guy from the South who he was a gang member in New Orleans and had been was sent to prison for an attempted murder, I believe, and was sent for 10 years straight up. And in prison, in solitary, he met a guy, a white Wall Street guy, who in solitary turned to Trapper and goes, "You guys got it all wrong." And he sort of took offense to it, like, "What do you mean, who you guys?" And he goes, like, I'm a white collar crime guy, and you guys are on the street, like, dealing drugs or doing what you're doing. And you know what? If you knew about Wall Street, and that sense of business that you guys have, then there would be no stopping you, right? And so they spent the next 10 years together getting to know each other.
Wow.
He taught him everything about Wall Street and trading, right? And Trap came out of prison, right, with a total different mindset. And now he's a multi-millionaire, and he has a trading community in the millions.
Wow.
And he basically he decided, okay, I'm going to get my crew together, and we're not going to be, making money selling dime bags. We're going to start trading the stock market.
Wow.
And he now has a massive multi-million person community giving back and getting people to change the narrative of their lives to be trading.
Wow.
And use all that mindset of being a great, drug dealer into becoming a great trader.
Wow.
And so those two people have been my life coaches and impacted me in a positive way. But the David Meltzer thing is so. It's exactly your messaging, right? I mean, I've watched anyone's got to watch Sam's videos because it's about positivity. So talk to me about the bus driver.
Melvin. I walked on the bus. I was running late for a trip. I had to stay overnight in the airport. The next day, flew to Michigan, walked on a shuttle bus, a little bit tired and anxious and annoyed. And Melvin was just sitting there singing out loud, having a good day. And
he was a truck driver.
He
probably
was a bus
woke up
driver.
at 4 a.m. It was probably cold out.
Yeah.
Right? He had no reason to be happy.
No.
Right.
But he was.
And
it bugged me. I was upset. And as I sat on the bus, and he comes on the speaker, and howdy y'all, my name's Melvin. It's going to be a great ride. This isn't a regular ride, though. I'm going to use this time for my rehearsal.
Right.
If you hear a song that you love, please feel free to join in and sing along. And he starts singing. And the first 5 minutes, I'm like, don't let this guy's positivity make you feel better. Second 5 minutes, I'm nodding my head a little bit. By the end of the bus ride, I'm standing up singing. And I walked off the bus and I shook his hand. I said, "Sir, you're the best bus driver I've ever had in my entire life." And I walked off the bus. And it just struck me in the heart. I was like, this guy barely spoke to me, but the way he showed up changed how I felt about myself. Yeah. How can I be like Melvin for other people? Remind people that we get to choose our attitudes, not based on our circumstances. Right. It's something we choose when we wake up. And I had a mentor tell me, he said, "Sam, if you're blessed in life that you think the cup is half full, someday it'll be full. Yeah. And when it gets full, you better pour it into other people's cups or it's gonna spill over and make a mess. And you're gonna waste your goodness. So go pour into other people as much as you can." And I've set goals in my life that I've reached, and I never felt happier about my life and myself when I hit the goals. Right. But I felt really happy helping a stranger on the sidewalk who couldn't figure out how to get to his sister's house. Or just like random little scenarios.
Random acts of kindness.
That's it.
Right?
That's literally it.
Random acts of kindness. What was that?
But I think it's not random because it's intentional. You have to make a decision when you go out of your house that if you recognize someone that's in need and you're privileged enough to be in a position where you can help them, stop and just ask a question. Hey, can I help you? Is everything okay? And
being of service.
That's it.
Right. That's it. You know what? Look, if one believes in God or at all, it's kind of like you would think what if God created all this, right? Yep. And everyone's got their own thing. What do you think was his biggest intention about how we should treat other people? Right? I mean, you would think that would be it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, that at the end of the day, we should be of service to others.
Yeah.
That everybody has been dealt a different set of cards.
Yep.
Right? And that, you know, that one, and you even said it, but it's not a matter of what life throws at you. It's a matter of how you react
100%
to it. Right? And this couldn't be the more, in my opinion, your message is the most important message, right? It transcends everything. It transcends money. It transcends your career. It transcends all of it.
Yeah.
Because it can affect every bit of your day.
Yep.
Right? There's that difference. It can, you know, I mean, it's like people can be people can have millions of dollars and still be miserable.
Yep.
And people can, and I'm not purporting that, you know, I'm not telling
No.
people that they should, you know, not strive to have money.
Yep.
Right? Money doesn't buy you happiness. It buys you freedom, in my opinion. Right? That's a line by my buddy Mr. E, who's always he does art that relates to money.
Oh.
But that's what it does do. But it's like like we have platforms, right?
Yep.
We have this social media platforms, and it's a matter of what do you do with that platform, right? And so, what a gift that is. Also to be of service. You know, if you there are. There, you know, like their programs, people who deal with addiction.
Yep.
Okay. One of the ways that they're able to, I work with some. I often will work with people who have been addicts, and you know, the mindset is that if you're of service to others and you're spending less time thinking about yourself, then it's like you can't get something. You can only get something if you give it away.
Yep.
Right. Having been given the gift of life once, you know, when one's life almost was snuffed out.
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of how I came out of, you know, having thought that I only had a few months to live.
Wow.
And it almost, I wasn't clear about it when it happened.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing it now.
Yep.
That my life is taking this. You know, I've had a lot of really hard times. Right. I had the COVID situation. You know, where I almost died. I had, you know, my brother died at 60.
Wow.
Died of cancer, and my wife recently at 61 died of cancer.
Yeah.
So like I'm the designated survivor. Like I've lost so much, and yet. I've been given all this abundance. Like, so what do I do with it, right? Do I, you know, go like, do I bitch and holler? I mean, I would have much rather had the abundance and not have lost everybody.
Yeah.
But like, at the end of the day, I'm powerless over that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Life deals you what you got. However, it's like, what do you do with that message? It's like if you didn't, like, you have to tell everybody what you're feeling, right? I mean, I know it's bubbling out of you, right? And that bubbling out of you, it's like literally, I'm the same way as you. Like those acts of kindness.
Yep.
And you're right, they're intentional. They're not random.
It's a choice. Yeah. Like,
yeah, exactly. Just giving someone, giving someone $1, giving someone whatever, asking them how they are. You said it, like putting a name to somebody.
Yep.
And it's funny though, because it opens up doors that will blow your mind.
And you're not trying to open them. And that's the thing I tell everybody. My cousin called me the other day. He goes, Sam, I dropped off 50 concrete slabs to a customer's house doing a delivery. He asked me if I'd help him carry them to his backyard. I'm not allowed to legally because there's a liability reason, but I said yes, carried him to his backyard. He gifted me coffee and 2 cigars. He had no idea I love cigars. Then my cousin called me and told me the story. I said, everyone talks about ROI, return on investment. Yeah, there's also ROG, return on goodwill. Yeah. But you don't do it because you're like, oh, I'm going to help this person so that I get something.
Quid pro quo.
No, but a byproduct of being a lovely human is doors open you didn't even know existed. And it's happened so many times. And I'm like, it's not a strategy, but please live your life this way, you know?
It's not, you're so right, it is not a strategy.
No, it's just a choice. It's just a choice to show up. And you know, you're talking about the analogy of everyone being dealt cards.
Right.
And everyone has different cards.
Yeah.
But if we all focus on the fact that we're playing the same game and we're all trying to win the same prizes of joy and fulfillment and love, and we're all humans, we're all the same. We're all doing the same thing, trying to figure out the same game. Yeah. And I think the moment I hear people talking about others as opponents and like, we're forgetting that that's another human being. And I hope that youth today and everyone just returns to love. Returns to loving people and seeing them as equals, you know?
but they're not opponents. That's the
Yeah.
bottom line.
No.
That right, but that's what it's become.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I also, you think about it in business as well. Right, like that person is a competitor of mine,
Yeah.
or that person, a funny analogy. There's a street in New York, the Bowery. It's called the Bowery,
Okay.
right? And on the Bowery there's one street where there are 100 lighting fixture stores.
Okay.
All on one block.
Oh, cool.
Right? And so I don't even remember when this sort of came to my mind. And so I opened a record store back in 1980. So where do I want to be? Do I want to be like on the street where all the other record stores are? Or do I want to be standing alone in my thing? And I realized that, so if somebody's going to, and it's funny, I don't even know why my mind went there, but it's like, so
If they're gonna buy records,
if they're going to buy, and what I feel is I have a good product.
Yep.
And I am of service.
Yep.
Then you know what? Why don't they're coming to that street
Anyway.
to buy records anyway? Why not just be another bozo on that bus, doing the best I can,
Yep.
offering what I offer,
Yep.
and that if I do the right thing and I am of service and I have a good product,
Yep.
then
the business will take care of itself.
Exactly. That right. You know what I'm saying?
One of my mentors gave me one of the best pieces of advice I've ever heard. He said, in life, you'll get what you desire for other people.
Exactly.
If you
Yes.
desire success for others, the success will find you. If
Yeah.
you desire love and joy for others, those things will find you.
Yeah.
But if you secretly stay in your corner of the world and hope other people fail so you can have more, failure will find you. And
So right.
I think that's such a beautiful analogy, And if you stand in your unique person that you are, because we have unique abilities that are different than everybody else, you'll find the people that are going to buy from your store, and so will your neighbors.
100%. I love that. It's such a wonderful message. It's such a powerful message. I think it's been really made clear to us that the alternative is really dark.
Yep.
Right? It's like, karma. It's like, that's what everyone says. If you wish bad things on others, then bad things will come on you. It's way beyond that. But you just said it. It's like that others are not. It's a human race, right? But it's not a race, right? And people should not be opponents, right? Be for any reason, because of what they think, who they are, what they believe in, what color, all that kind of stuff. And it's a serious problem. And I don't know it's a fairly recent thing that we've taken this turn to a level of discord, right? That I don't think we've ever seen.
No,
it's way worse. And that's why. You know what? We can still all be doing what Look, this is your mission, right? So what are you doing? Explain to me. So, how old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay. When did you start on this sort of embark on? When did this? It's probably been happening for a little bit in a part of your life, right?
17 years old.
Right. And so now, and so, what does it look like? You're speaking in high schools, and right. You're sort of embarking on a mission to share this message with everybody in the world.
We have
be of service.
We have two visions. Yep.
Okay.
Our first part of our vision is to fill stadiums with families. So imagine a grandma, her kids and her grandkids all show up to a show that's half comedy, half motivational and storytelling that leaves people laughing, learning something, and just remembering. This is what it means to be a human.
Experiential, right?
And then the other part of it is spreading the messages and the ideas on social media. So we're putting out lots of video to try and replace what's already on kids' feeds. That's not good stuff. There's so much terrible videos that are in the world right now. If we can just put some positive stuff in front of people's faces, I think it's a really great way to change how people think and show up. Those are the two parts of it. And for me, I get so much joy and love out of doing the performing and speaking as well. And so I found this thing that I love and people enjoy. I'm going to just keep doing it. And right now, it's primarily in schools and conferences. They'll bring me in to deliver 60-minute or 90-minute speeches where I'll tell a series of stories.
Is it monetizable?
I think anything in your life that you do at a high level, the money becomes a byproduct. So it's gotten to a point now where we have too many opportunities. We can't say yes.
You can't. What is that? You can't. They can't clone you.
No.
Right. There's only one you.
So that supply and demand, right? It goes up, and I got to protect my time a little bit, or else I burn myself out.
I'm experiencing the same thing. Yeah.
So it is, and it's never been the focus or the reason why we haven't done a speech in the past.
As mine is not as well.
But like you said, everyone needs to have some money to get by and live a life.
It is a byproduct. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right that
and
way.
I still want to give my family and my kids a good future.
Yeah,
So,
you know, and I look. You think about it. Family is a big part of it,
Yep.
right? You know, we've lost that the importance of that,
Yeah.
the importance of elders,
Yep.
right? I mean, think about it. Why wouldn't you? It's so basic. Why wouldn't I want to? You know, look, I found so much joy
Yeah.
in being like, and I don't even know how this happened. You know, my life has exploded over the last couple of years, couple of months,
Yeah.
right? But to think that I could be so. Up until recently, you know, there were not 50 million young new traders
Yeah.
wanting to look for a mentor
Yeah.
who's doing what they would always love to do.
Yeah.
But as I started on this journey on social media and whatnot, and I heard the story about like this young guy, Noor. Noor is a young kid who literally spent 3 months waiting outside the stock exchange. He had gotten the trading bug, right? And his journey was all his parents are immigrants, all this other stuff. But he got the bug. He wanted to trade, and then he, of course, looked like, well, who do I want to be like? And of course, he found me,
Wow.
right? And so he literally waited outside the stock exchange for months just to meet me.
Wow.
And then he ended up meeting me, and we had a nice chat, and then he ended up getting an internship, and he did that, and he started to trade, and he ended up making money, and he immediately pivoted to try, as opposed to just finding something you love to do and then making a bunch of money and
Yep.
you know, posting pictures on the
Yeah.
back of a Bugatti with stacks of 10,000, a bunch of money.
Yeah.
He immediately turned it around like this young lady did, and
Start
created
teaching.
created a teaching community where so that everybody can be as successful as he in this thing that they love so much. So for me, it was really wild to suddenly be that person, right? Because I don't think of myself as old,
Yeah.
right? Even though I've been doing this for 40 years, right? So my spirit's super young. And so, but that I can be a mentor
For others.
or a coach to someone who is now 18, 19, 20, 25, embarking on being a trader.
Yep.
Like, and to think that, oh my God, it's like, so for me, it was like, going out and meeting whoever did what I do before me
Yeah.
now, right? And to think about it, how, we should always want to meet somebody, an elder
Yep.
who's been around longer to share their experience.
Yeah.
Experience is the key.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's an amazing thing. And but people sort of don't give that the credit it's due, right? I one of the things I always say too. So there are a bunch of young traders who have been trading for 2 years. They're suddenly experts. Not the case,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes they do, right? So humility is key,
Yeah.
right? And always be forever a student of the
Yep.
market, right? Is another thing. But to think that I've been doing this for 40 years.
Yeah.
I've seen every movie. Right, I've seen every crash. I've seen every this. I've traded more IPOs than anyone on earth.
Yeah.
I've been through the crash of '87. There's nobody who's traded through more crashes than me. So what does that mean? So I've seen the trials and tribulations. I've seen the failure. Right? Obviously, one of the messages in what you do and what I do is, and what like David does is failure versus success, right? Like we learn so much more from failure than we do from success.
I had a young person recently ask me, how do you deal with failure? And I said, I study it so I can try and not repeat the same thing I did last time.
Right.
I write about it in my journal. I think it's something to celebrate when we have a challenge or a situation that doesn't end up the way we anticipated, because there's a lesson to learn there. How do you deal with situations in life where things don't go the way you anticipated?
So, it's hard. I would relate it to like the loss, right? So did I ever think that I would that I wouldn't spend the whole rest of my life with my brother? I never thought that would happen, right? That was unexpected. And so how do I deal with it? I guess a day at a time kind of a thing. It's been difficult. I still haven't figured it out. Grief is a funny thing. It sort of lays in wait. It waits on the shelf. Sometimes I'm able to put it in a box and put it away for a little while, and sometimes it just kind of waits and pounces on you. But I don't have a real great answer for that, because then I lost my wife. Like losing your life partner, somebody who was my best friend. I don't have a solution to figure out how to navigate that. You know, the only thing that has been what's kept me going is being of service, you know, because then I'm not thinking about me, right? The more I think about me, so there's a woman on social media, I think she's Danish or Swedish, and she talks about, she's got a wonderful message. I'll find her, but she talks about the fact that we are the designer of our lives and our emotional makeup and our positivity versus negativity. And so if every time someone asks me how I'm doing, whether I'm doing well or not, I say, yeah, I'm hanging on, or I'm not doing so great. Well, that kind of curates and presumes, I don't know if presume's the right word, but it
creates that reality.
It creates that reality. And I was doing that after I lost my brother and I lost my wife. You know, I was in a super dark place, as you would think, right? But I showed up for work every day, right? My mother said, you know what? When I die, I want you to cry and go to work the next day, and I did that, right? Because sitting at home under the covers, opportunity's not going to find me there. So during the, you know, I've told the story on social media a number of times when in 2007 and 8 I was not making any money and my business had completely shut down and I didn't know what to do and I had a wife and kids to support. I hid under the covers for a couple of days and I go, well, no opportunity is going to find me here, right? So I suited up, I showed up, I came to work every day for 2 years and I wasn't making a penny. And I knew, I had that vision that opportunity wasn't going to find me under the covers hiding, but it was going to find me, there was a chance it would find me out on the streets in the universe. And literally, I was on the subway one day. I ran into an old buddy I'd been doing business with on Wall Street years before. He asked me how I was doing. I was honest for the first time because everyone up to that point would ask, I'm doing, oh yeah, I'm doing great. You know, and I said, I'm struggling. I'm not making any money. And he goes, you know what? Let's get back into that trade we were doing back in the day. We started to trade together, and that got me through 10 years. Right? So, you know, opportunity is one thing. That opportunity is not going to find you there. But, you know, the loss part of it, you know, that was really hard. I did not know how I was going to get through that. And but I also knew that it was the minute that I started, and this was very recent because, you know, so besides almost dying from COVID and losing my brother and my wife, and then having this really bad long COVID, so I was in a neck brace for 4.5 years, up until last October. Like I was physically, I showed up for work every day. I was running businesses. If you were to look at me, you would not have known that I was dealing with so much emotional trauma from all of these things because I never called in sick and I didn't tell nobody, but I did because when people would ask me how am I doing, whether it was for sympathy or whatever, I'm going, yeah, I'm hanging on, right? There was nothing about what I was doing that was hanging on, you know, but it was like the minute I said that, I already was setting the stage for my day to be a dark day. And so this woman said, your day will be how you paint it. It's a painting, right? And if if you make it bright colors and a nice picture, well, the chances are it's going to be okay. And so literally from one day to the next, I stopped. When anyone asked me how am I doing, I'm going, yeah, I'm doing great. I wasn't necessarily doing great, but that was my immediate response was, yeah, things are great. Yeah, I'm doing great. And it was a seismic shift in how I dealt with the grief of losing my wife, right? It was like the pain that wasn't any different. The grief was still there, but I didn't let it define me, right? And like you described the same thing. You were not letting your having a bad day define you. I also learned you can start your day over again, right, any time. But it was literally that simple thing of when someone asked me how am I doing, it was like I made a decision in myself that from now on I'm fine, right, and I'm doing great. And that's all you need, because the rest of it was just like an attempt to get sympathy, or not. There was nothing bad about it. It's human. I was in pain, right, but I saw that it was fulfilling this destiny of just getting me deeper in, as opposed to me crawling out of that thing. And it changed literally the abundance started to show up again, right? I started it was just like, I guess I was giving off a more positive vibe, right? And all good stuff started happening.
That's really cool, man. And I appreciate you sharing that. Again, I think the energy we put out is the energy we receive. And
100%.
It's hard at times, and it's hard to help other people stop that loop when they're in it.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you sharing that story.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I've never shared that story before. Yeah. But just because I'm not doing well does not mean I can't help someone else or either, right? Yep. And that, by helping someone else and being of service, I may be more able to drag myself out of the hole as well.
Makes you feel significant. I think that's one of the greatest payments we ever get in life, to feel truly significant. Because I thought about my own goals and what's behind them. Why do I want to be successful or do these other things? Right. I want to feel like I mattered. Right. Significance. Well, you can get that same feeling by helping that person on the street. Right. It's the same. You're gonna get the same feeling in your heart.
Right. And it doesn't mean you have to do something.
It doesn't have to be huge. No, it's these small little moments. I love using people's names. Right. And I noticed that when you remember someone's name.
Right.
Well, when I was in high school, I read a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. Right. And there's a chapter that says
this. Famous book. Who wrote that?
Dale Carnegie.
Okay, right, yeah.
And there's a chapter in the book that says the sweetest sound in any language is a person's name.
Okay.
And I went back to the bookstore to buy more books after reading it, and for the first time in my life, I intentionally used the cashier's name. And I'm checking out with the books, and I said, "Hey, Megan, how's your day going?" And she looked at me like this.
All right.
"Do I know you?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No, but I read your name tag."
Right.
And she goes, "Oh, what's your name?" I said, "My name's Sam. It's nice to meet you." We talk for a few minutes. She scans all my books, leaves. I look at the check. She gave me like a 30-40% discount on my books. I wasn't looking for a discount on my books. Right. I just thought, wow, when you use someone's name, it makes them feel seen and appreciated. Yeah. And I've done it for the rest of my life. And I notice whenever I use someone's name, they smile. Sometimes people audibly chuckle, especially if you take the time. Like, everyone has Zoom calls. Yeah. Sometimes you see a name on the calendar you don't know how to pronounce. Right. Well, you put the name on Google, how to pronounce this name. Right. You watch a 12-second video that tells you how to pronounce it. Right, yeah. You show up to the Zoom call and you say the person's name correctly. They giggle because 99% of the time people mispronounce it. Yeah. And it's like such a simple way to say, "I recognize you, appreciate you, I see you." Yeah. Doesn't cost anything. Costs nothing. Yeah.
That's funny because there's a part. It's just so. I never remember people's names from the first time I meet them. Yeah. But that's something I like that. I mean, it's something that makes them feel like they're
appreciated.
Yeah. So look, we could talk about this forever and ever. I went through so many of your videos yesterday. But at the end of the day, being of service for others, and it can really define us in such a huge way. Yeah. And it's something that needs to be done more than ever before. It only breeds happiness and joy and kindness, right? And positivity, right? And it can probably happen one person at a time as well. So how do you see yourself in like 10 years? How do you see this? What does the painting look like?
I see our small team being a little bit bigger and doing events for families around the globe. I see us helping other people spread their messages and ideas that kind of turn back and teach.
Have you ever met anybody who was like you?
Many people.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay. And who are enough that you could be on stage with that person 100%.
As well?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I'd say there's like 4 or 5 right now. Okay. People that share similar ideas, and I would pull us together.
And then you could be a team of 4 with them.
Yeah, I think it would be a
confident enough
a lineup of performers. Yeah, I think there's a lineup of performers for these large events for families. But I also try my best not to paint a very defined, cleared picture of what the future could be, because. Right. What if the world has very different plans than what I have in my own head? Right, and sure. I want to show up every day and do better than I was the day before, and do right by people, and let the journey take me where it's supposed to.
Yeah, you know what? It's so thrilling, and it's funny because we connected a while. Yeah, we connected a while back.
Something like that.
I saw the video and I immediately wrote to you like your message is like, I love it. It's so, and it was like happenstance that we revisited it, because it's just what I needed. I think, it's funny because I didn't think of it till I sort of was sharing that story with you, that how, because over the last, let's say, couple of months, my world is exploding with my social media thing, but even more, just the abundance of opportunity and the abundance of love and kindness that's coming, that I'm giving out, and that's coming back to me. It's just like on steroids. It's so huge, and I didn't even really notice it, because I'm in the middle of a wild world with it, and there's a part of me that that's like, because I'm alone, right? I got 2 wonderful kids, right? But my wife's been gone a couple of years, and so there's a level of sort of loneliness with that. I would have really loved. There was nothing more that I loved than enjoying the abundance with my wife, and she was like my best friend, right? And so that part of it's hard. Like, so how do I share this abundance? Well, the best way, hopefully maybe I'll meet somebody that to share it with. But at the end of the day, it's just brought me so much joy, and it's amazing how it just it feeds off itself, and it can be, and also, look, people will always say, that my energy is contagious, right? And that high positive energy is so, it's wonderful, and people love it. And when you hear that, you realize how much people need that, because it's not a real common thing.
No,
right? Most people, right? It's not common at all.
It's the outlier.
Exactly. We're diamonds in the rough that way.
Yeah, and I think that's how you spread the abundance, is by showing up like a lighthouse.
Exactly.
You're not tugging people down the water. You just show up and spread love and light, and it'll inspire other people to do the same and recognize it's a possibility.
Yeah, totally. It's funny. I filmed the thing yesterday, and so I've described to you, right, over the last couple of weeks since I did this thing with I Show Speed, my world's exploded. And it went from being recognized a lot to literally not being able to walk down the street. And so yesterday we were filming this thing out on Wall Street, an HBO something for a company in Canada, and people just started showing. I was on the street, so everybody, and in this neighborhood, obviously people are looking at Wall Street. I can literally go stand outside, and everybody comes by. But it was just that sort of energy and camaraderie and all that, and for me, I realized how exciting that is, that I have that effect on people, that I can get that message across, and that, wow, and it's power in a really good way. It's not a power trip, but if I can, at the end of the day, it's just like my father, if we can, at the end of the day, if we can impact somebody's life, 1 person, 10 people, or 100 people in a positive way, then we've done the job. Right, and you did that for me, and and I'm excited. I would love to go on stage with you. I think we could have an absolute blast. Sharing that message, because you're powerful, and you do it in a way that is super humble, super powerful, and I love the way because you're a storyteller, and I love that it comes the way you do it. It's so accessible for people to hear that story, and that you're going to blow a lot of people's minds.
I hope so, man. I appreciate you.
You're fucking awesome.
Thanks a lot, Pete.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks.
And you know what? That was a whole fucking mouthful. I love you. That's all I got to say about that. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to what we talked about. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you are, what you do, your career and all that stuff. At the end of the day, the most important thing is how we can impact other people in a super positive way. Wake up with that intention, and you know what? It will curate yourself into a space of happiness, joy, kindness, and love. That's what it's all about. At the end of the day, that's it. All the rest of it's bullshit. Nothing else matters. That's what matters. That's all I got to say about that. Boom.